Before we start this meeting, I'd like to read this statement. This meeting is being conducted by electronic means pursuant to the requirements of Governor Lee's Executive Order 65 and has been noticed as required by that order. Section 1C of Governor Lee's Order 65 strongly urges the city to provide an agenda for the meeting in the notice. I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, y'all. We're going to start out with the discussion of the Cumberland securities.
Scott Gibson is on, so.
Bridget, if you'll speak into that.
Scott Gibson,
I'm here.
I think it's the discussion regarding the bonds for the schools.
So I sent everyone, I am Scott Gibson. I am with Cumberland Securities. I am the city's financial advisor. I sent Bridget a couple analysis here recently. I sent one that incorporated borrowing money, the city borrowing money to pay for its part of the school project, and then the schools borrowing their money to pay for their part of the school projects. Bridget sent back to me a note that the schools were not interested in borrowing theirs. I guess they were just going to use cash. And so I did send her, I think yesterday, an updated analysis that would allow the city to fund $2.5 million into the construction fund, and we could do less if that's what you want, which equals to about $135,000 a year in total P&I if you finance it over 30 years at a 2.75% rate, which is a very high rate because I wasn't sure of the timing. So all those numbers are super conservative as far as where we are as of today. So what would you like me to discuss, and what questions that you may have?
Scott, you said you weren't sure of the timing, so you used 275. What would make you use 1.0? Like if we did it today?
If we did it today, we probably would be right at 2% on the cost of funds. With the presidential election tonight, one, that's obviously could change the market as we move forward in the next few weeks. Two, I didn't know if we were going to actually do this project starting like January, or if we're going to wait till next summer when the kids are out of school. And then are you going to make the schools spend their money first versus the city coming along at a later time? And so that you may not actually need your money till next summer. I wasn't sure about the timing. And so I did use a conservative number, but we should be less than what I am showing based on where rates are today.
For about a year, do you think? You think they'll hang steady for a year?
I think they'll stay. I think regardless of who wins presidential election, the Fed is committed to keeping rates low. We're not going to be through the pandemic anytime soon. Even if a vaccine becomes available in the spring, it's probably going to be next summer before there's heavy vaccinations. So I think rates will stay low. Now, it could go up or down a little bit, but, I say we stay within a quarter of a point of where rates are today, probably plus or minus.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question is, why don't we use, if we get the lowest rate now, why don't we use the city money on the borrowing it now to lock that rate in and let the school pay the cash later at a later date so we can get the lowest interest rate now? Why aren't we making the schools pay cash if we can lock in a lower rate so that there's no worry about the rate going up at that point? Right now, probably going to be the lowest you can get, I would think.
Well, that actually is a really good question. I will tell you, we would be hard pressed if you adopted the bond resolution like tonight, even to get something done before you're in. So it's probably going to be 2021 before we actually could issue the debt. And then I had sent, this is kind of off subject, but I sent Bridget some numbers which we can discuss at a later date. There is going to be an opportunity for the city maybe to refinance some debt next year. And so we may be able to get some economies of scale as far as the refundings on the water sewer system that you have available next summer and this financing. So 2.6 million or 2.5, if that's all you're going to borrow, is not a substantial amount. And so if we could combine it with something else, we could maybe get a little bit of better execution, or at least if we're doing one or two transactions together, we can, leverage the rating agencies for lower fees on each individual piece. So that's a thought there. And like you said, we can move forward. Rates may go up, but I think any impact the presidential election will have, obviously we can't get in front of that. And, we'll just have to see how things shake out between now and year end. But it would take us a couple months probably to get everything geared up, unless y'all are ready to adopt a resolution tonight.
So, hey, Chris, to your point about paying cash, I've advocated since this first came up that we use our cash over and above our reserves. I think we've all made a commitment to never dip into that, and which reserves are reserved for an unusual economic time, which arguably we're in right now. And so I would not advocate for that. But we do have cash over and above that we could potentially use now. And should the rates come down even more in the future, then bond it. That's one point I wanted to make. Second one is to you, Scott. What is the timeline when you bond money that you have to start spending on a project? Is that variable, or is that some kind of a thing?
Well, you're going to obviously want to start spending money fairly soon, because you don't want to borrow money and then just have it sit there in today's market. So even if we can borrow at 2% and you stick it in the bank, you're only going to be making 0.2 or something or less in today's market. So you would have a negative cost to carry on any unspent funds. And then since this is for school projects, you would have 3 years to spend the money in full before any issues with the IRS would kick in. So you have plenty of time to get it spent. And then third, I think, Bill, I'm a little bit opposite of you in that I think the more cash you maintain, the better off you're going to be. Even this money above your kind of reserve levels. But that being said, that if y'all want to spend your money, your excess money, that is, we could do that. If we did do that, I would want to put in a reimbursement resolution, which would allow us to, at the end of the project, go back and actually borrow the money and put the money back in the bank, all or a portion, if we thought your cash levels had gotten too low.
And you and I have always had this good argument, Scott, and I really appreciate you entertaining my opposing viewpoint on that. I really do. And but that's kind of what I'm getting at. If we use the money we have over and above the reserve, if the city school system uses the money they have over and above their reserve, then we can bond later. Even if maybe it's at a higher interest rate, it's still a lot less principal because we spent cash on the front end. So we're talking about financing a different amount of money 6 months or a year from now.
Well, I guess the argument would be, I'm not sure that there's a different amount of money. If you want to spend your cash and then we bond for that full amount back, then you start the same place again.
No, the balance of the project, not the full amount.
Well,
oh no, I'm talking about like if it's a $4 million project and we round up $1 million or $2 million in cash, and then we come up, we need $2 more million. Then we bond it. It may be at a higher rate, but you're only bonding half the amount for the project. Like we've already bought down the project. And I'm not at all for loading up a bunch of other things onto one bond. I mean, I think each bond's got to be considered by itself. So I'm only thinking about this school project, not adding other things on it.
Well, I think that's a good point. But the second point I would make back as a counter argument is the school is your longest life asset that you have in the city, probably. So it's going to last longer than anything that is out there. And based on our conversation, which would lend itself to being something that you would finance over time to spread those payments out over the useful life of that asset and let multiple generations of kids and parents that are going to use that school pay for it. The second thing I would come back to is you do have other needs out there that y'all may want to discuss. I think a fire truck has been on the wish list, some public works equipment, some other things like that, that I would be more inclined for you to pay with cash versus the school building. So to the extent you want to borrow some money, the school would be the best thing, in my opinion, because of the life of the asset. And then we can talk about some of these other things. Do we include or not include fire trucks or public works equipment or building improvements out there that you may need? So I think we need to think about everything out there, not just the school.
Which is exactly what I'm trying to do. Think about everything, not just the school.
Yeah. So I just want to real quick, because my understanding is we're covering what the school doesn't pay for. So wouldn't it be pertinent for us just to know about the timeline of when they're wanting to start construction, that before we can decide when we want to go ahead and lock in the funds? Because I don't want the money just sitting there. As far as the discussion on whether we're financing this or not, I think we've already voted on this. So I think we need to move beyond that and get down to the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to answer here, when we're going to take this loan.
Dr. Vaughn, do you know how far along the project is? Or when it's
Yes, ma'am. Yes, the groundwork is taking place. We have a goal of August of 2021 of opening up. So that's the goal at this time.
So Scott, with that being the goal, August of 2021, when would you recommend that we go ahead and lock in the funding? If we lock it in now, we're going to be sitting on it for a year, it looks like. I mean, I know you said it's going to take to the 1st of 21 before we can do it, but.
Well, August of 21 is basically 10 months from now. So I would think we could go anytime y'all want to go. So if you wanted to consider something tonight, which I don't know if y'all have the resolution on your agenda or not, but I mean, we could even try to start the process tonight, or we could wait till a meeting, a couple of weeks from now or next month or whatever you want to do.
Well, we're looking at, like tonight, that we're either going to bond it all or pay cash, but we've said from the finance committee that we wanted to bond it all. But when Chris brings up that,
all I'm saying is, I know that they're saying that the schools are going to pay cash for their part. All I'm saying is, why don't we do the bond as soon as possible to get the lower rate that we think now, and then let the school pay later on cash. I don't know if that's an option or not. So.
Well, I guess my question with that, Chris, would be, I thought we were only going to cover the difference. They were going to pay for everything, and then we cover what was left. But
2.5, is that correct? Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Hey, Ron, did we not vote to bond up to 2.5?
Yeah, I thought that was so we can just go it. Yeah.
So we haven't voted on that then, a dollar amount. We voted up to 2.5, correct?
Yes.
So we have not voted on that. We voted on up to. So my conversation is still germane.
No.
No.
We voted to finance it, though, is what I'm saying. You're going above 2.5, but the schools that's going to be covered by the schools above and beyond that.
That's correct.
Well, our ordinance was like, we can do all the way up to 2.5, but we don't have to do 2.5. We could do 500, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, correct? Up to 2.5 million.
Yeah, but
Is that correct?
That was correct, Bill, but I believe that was for the purpose of absorbing the full cost. I don't think that was to go back in and say we're going to pay cash for this element and finance this element, because we had that conversation. Now I guess
it's on record, or is that too?
But I don't think that was the intent of it.
It was my intent, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but the whole conversation was whether we're going to finance it or we're not going to finance it.
Up to 2.5 million.
I see your caveat there, and touche.
That's no caveat. That's in the ordinance.
I understand it's in the ordinance, but I don't think that was the intent of it. It certainly wasn't
we might want to revote. I think it was the intent. It was totally my intent. That's why I put the word up to into that ordinance.
when it was sent out financed, it was the night that we would we would decide if we're gonna bond it. And we recommended from the finance committee that we would bond it. Up to 2.15. Yes,
I know.
that's what's on the table tonight.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
But we've already done that, right? We've already decided we'll go up to 2.5.
The agenda.
We're going to take the bond, right?
Up to, not 2.5, up to. So we can decide in between.
Well, we got to decide now, right?
And that's what I'm saying.
You know, an arbitrary picking them out.
No, it's not. We have Joy Vaughn on the phone right now. He can tell us what the project's going to cost, how much he's putting in, you know, what we can bond in a year. We can pay cash $500,000 or $1 million tonight.
I'm against paying any cash towards it.
Well, I get that, but that's not what the ordinance says. That's all I'm just trying to make clear.
Okay.
So everybody wants the project to happen. No question about that. Now, you could look at this like the school system has played us a little bit, like got us to commit to a bond amount and then decide they're going to do their cash. No offense, Joy. I'm just playing the thing here. And so, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be played the city over the budget for the city school system.
May I say something, please?
Yeah, go, jump in.
All right. So no, nobody was playing anybody, and I know that you didn't intend that in that manner.
Yeah.
But the total project, the amount was laid out, and it was up to 2.5 to get to 4.3. We have a guaranteed maximum price that it cannot go over the budget that was agreed upon. When I looked at and worked with the board, when we looked at that amount, we just felt like that it was better for Manchester, as well as the school system and the city, for us to go ahead and do that 1.6 to get that in. Whenever we do that, it doesn't matter. But to come in and right now and say up to 2.5, that puts us in an interesting place. Without that, but we have a guaranteed maximum price that comes in under the amount that we had agreed upon with that first resolution.
Okay, what's the absolute guaranteed price?
I do not have that in front of me, and it is 4.2, about 4.28 is what I think it is, but it is guaranteed under 4.3. And that is as long as we do not make any changes, which we will not do.
And the school is covering
1.6.
1.6.
Does that still leave some reserve for you, Joy? Whatever the recommended reserve is, or is that all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It does. We're also looking at putting in. There are other capital projects that we have to do as far as heat and air. And other things, so we're trying to get those within our budget as well. But we will still be above the minimum requirement by the state. Yes.
So see, this is a really, I'm really proud of their school system for thinking this way. And Scott's argument about save your cash and bond it could apply just as logically to the school system. I think the school system is chosen well, and we're not at all slowing the project down. We're not changing the project. We're just saying we can start out by paying cash and then just borrow the rest. We're not backing up on our responsibility. We're just talking about how to get there. And if we've got some money, whatever our whatever million we have in reserves, and we've got some money over that, I'm just like, why not use it?
I'm sitting here looking at a resolution in our package tonight that says authorizing the sale and providing details not to exceed $4.25 million for general obligation bonds. So is it 4.25 or is it 2.5?
The resolution was drafted based on the thought that the schools would want to finance up to approximately 1.5 million of their share to preserve more of their cash, and then the city would be in the 2.5 million range. So that's why the resolution is 4,250,000, which Bridget told me just in the last day or two that the schools did not want to borrow theirs. So the resolution can be adopted as is because it's a not to exceed number, or we can amend the resolution tonight to change the amount from 4,250,000 down to, y'all pick a number, but I would assume based on our previous discussion, that would be like 2.5 million because that's what the city is committed to.
I tell you, I'd like to put this to rest. We put enough time and effort, and we rehashed this and rehashed it. And I'm ready to move on with it.
But when we say move on, do we
need to vote?
Well, we don't have, we're work session.
Right.
But do we want to do what Chris said?
What does Scott think's the best?
Well, I got a question. If the total project's 4.28 million, schools are putting up 1.6 million. I mean, one school in Lynchburg, but that leaves me 2.68 million left to be funded. So if we're only going to 2.5, where's the additional $180,000 coming from?
That's a good question. My math comes out the same.
Yeah, I was just showing Bridget the same thing. It shows that $4.1 million that we're asking for, and it's going to be 4.28. So yeah, there's some money missing there somewhere.
So is that coming from you, Joey? Is that where it's coming from?
It was, let me pull that up, but it 1.6, I'm sorry, what was the total amount that we're looking at borrowing total, the project of 4.3, it's 4.1. So yes, we're coming in under budget still. I apologize for that.
So we're at 4. Okay.
We're under 4.1. Yes.
All right. So that fixes that.
I apologize for not having that in front of me.
None of us, everybody.
So Scott, what do you think is best? Do you think it's best that the city schools use cash at the beginning or at the end, and that's, or either we bond now and do it, and then you get the lower rate, or what we think will be a lower rate, and then they pay cash at the end?
I think I would, I mean, it's hard to predict where rates are going. Rates are super attractive right now. So I am for locking in rates as soon as we can. If we can try to get it done before year end, we can try that, or we can try, early January timeframe and get the city the money that they want, and get that, funded. Cause I don't see much difference between doing something in January or doing something in, like I said, March or April or May. I mean, it sounds like the schools are moving at a pretty good clip if they're going to get this done in 10 months of construction. So, I mean, it's not like we have a couple of years to work with. So,
yeah, I think the real question is, do we do it now to lock in the rates, or do we risk the rates going up by the time we need to do it? Because we can, under the terms of the resolution, deposit and hold the money till we actually need it. It's just, we're going to be paying interest on this for 20 years. If the rate goes up 0.5% by waiting, the interest on 2 or 3 months is not really going to pay. It's just a math problem, like I said, ultimately. It's better to lock the rate today, or bet that it stays the same or goes down.
Yeah, I'd say let's move it to the full board for a vote tonight to go ahead and lock in the 2.5.
I agree. And Bill, if you feel that that you want to make another motion that we can pay cash for $1 million, you have that option. But the resolution said we're taking this and we're bonding it as part of it. So Everybody's in agreement with this, right?
All right, I'm good.
I have a question, this is a slight question. So when the city says they're going to put $2.5 million into the project, is that $2.5 million into the construction fund, or $2.5 million is what you want to borrow? Because obviously there's going to be some cost on the borrowing, and so that would end up with less in the construction fund. So I just want to clarify what we're trying to accomplish. It's plus or minus $100,000, but obviously that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, 2.5 in the construction fund, because that's what we obligated the schools.
Okay.
We needed to make a resolution not to exceed 2.7 or something to give it a cushion to net out to 2.5. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Gibson?
That is exactly what I was trying to figure out, and the amount of the resolution probably should be $2.6 million.
Okay.
Okay.
The costs do come out of the proceeds first, and I'm not sure what they sell. So we just amend, when it comes time to address it, we'll just amend the resolutions in your packet to replace the $4,250,000 with $2,600,000. Is that what you think, Mr. Gibson?
Yes. The only thing the resolution needs to change is the amount from, like you said, $4,250,000 to $2.6 million.
Any more questions, discussions? Okay, we're gonna go into,
Thank you, Scott.
thank you, Scott.
I'll stay on for the meeting if you want me to.
Yes. If you don't mind. Okay, we're looking at, the appointment of the Aldermen. And I'm just gonna go around and you say we've had some great applicants, applications that's been filled out. And I can say, I'm really, really honored that everyone put in an application. And I'm just gonna go and poll each one of you, and if we have four, the person that gets four, we'll take it to the meeting. Alderman Rich?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you recommend?
I would like to nominate Roxanne Patton.
Okay. Alderman Nichols?
Yeah, I asked a guy that I've met the past year or so, David Bradley, to put in his application. Thinking that he's lived here for several years, not really that politically encumbered, and a really bright guy. And I realize nobody knows him, but I asked him to put his application in anyway, just so people could get to know him. And hopefully, if not on this go around, sometime in the future, everybody would consider this guy for service to our community. And my thinking being that, a lot of the people that moved to our town and deserve representation, just like the people that were born and raised here and that kind of thing. So, but anyway, David's a great guy. Hope y'all would think about him, if not tonight, but in the future for other things. Thank you.
David, Bill?
Pardon?
Are you saying that, and I'm just polling each one, who you want to recommend? Are you recommending David?
Well, I mean, I asked him to put his thing in. I love Roxanne like everybody does. And between me, it would be between Roxanne and David. Is how I would go. I don't know if that answers your question or not, Mayor, but that's.
No, it doesn't. But hey, but yes, it does. Okay, Chris?
I'm open to anybody, and I will say this, that I've talked to a few of these people that put their names in and called me personally, and I appreciate them doing that. Somebody that I would, when I'm looking through these applications, is someone who has ran before or put their name on the ballot is very important to me, because we all know what it's like to sit at the polling stations put your name out there. It's not an easy thing to do. And a lot of these people are good personal friends of mine. And I have told some of them the way I feel about that. I think it needs to be someone who has ran before. I'm open to any of those kind of people. As of right now, I mean, Roxanne, looking on her stuff, she's served on a lot of boards, served on a lot of committees, things like that. She would probably be my front runner, but some of these other candidates are just as capable of doing it also. So, I mean, I'm open to really, Roxanne, any of them. I mean, so I don't know. I'm good with her. I would be on board with that.
So you're saying?
I mean, yeah, Roxanne, there's so many. I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know how this is supposed to work.
I'm just going to keep going around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll try to make it easier. Then I'm good with Roxanne. So, but I mean, I think the people who have ran before, nothing against some of them, really good friends of mine, or put their name in the hat. But I think you should know what it's like to run and put your family through the election and do those. And so, but I'm good with Roxanne.
I know David serves on the field. David serves on the sign committee, and he has served well. He is a sharp, intelligent young man, and I hope that in the future we can use him on other boards and things. I really like this kid. But my first pick would be Roxanne.
My pick, and I agree with Chris, it should be somebody that's run before, but I think Terrence Hillsman has ran a couple of times. He's new, he's fresh, he's moved in, he's been here quite a while, but he's got business experience, he's got small children in school. He's got a lot of things that I feel like could be beneficial to the board, and he would be committed to the betterment of the city because of the age of these kids and wanting just betterment for the future.
Well, I really think Roxanne would do a great job. Before I even knew who was turned in the application, I asked Terrence Hillsman put in his application. He ran with me. He stood on the sidewalk. So I would say Terrence, but I think Roxanne will do a great job. So because I asked him to come to put in his application, I just feel like to not put his name in the ring would be not really be good. So we've got Bill, are you going to change your position? We've got 3 for Roxanne, 2 for Terrence.
Yeah, I mean, when we vote on it, I can't imagine David getting a second from anybody after this conversation. So I would have to let that go and support Roxanne.
I think we've got a 4-person vote, and I think she'll do a good job. And any more questions?
No, I just wanted to add something to this. Most of the people on this list I know personally. I think that this is an incredible list of people to serve. I look forward to stepping aside from my position at some point and letting some of these people fill that role. I'd like to see them continue. The ones that haven't ran, I'd love to see them on the ballot. The ones that have ran, in particular, like you talked about Terrence and Tammy Fuller, even, but both of them ran admirable campaigns when they ran. And I'm also excited to see people like Morgan, 24-year-old. I was 23 when I got elected. To see someone young, even Holly Jones, younger people that want to get involved, I'm encouraged by that. So I think this list coming out is a really good thing. Other people, legacy runs, Daniel Steelings would be great. His father served admirably for the city. I could go on from each of these people, but it's a great list. And I'd like to see some of these people hang in there with it and run. And also, I would like to see these people put in for citizen participation for other boards, because we need this kind of involvement into our government on multiple levels, not just at the aldermanic level. And these people could really help out with the city moving forward. So I hope that we'd reach back out to them and ask them to consider appointments onto other committees moving forward as well. But I just want to tell everybody thank you for putting in the applications, because I know I went through each of these, and I was excited to see the interest in it.
The list pull from the committee. But I think we've got we're going to have a 4-person vote, and I think we've got a good choice. And thank you. Anything else we need to bring up in this work session? Okay, all said, all done. We're adjourned.
Joy.
Appreciate you doing this.
Oh, sure. You're welcome. Are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Let us pray. Gracious God, on this election day, we pray for the city of Manchester, for Coffee County, for the United States of America, for all our elected leaders. May the light of your eternal wisdom guide our democracy and preserve the virtues of liberty and justice for all within each level of our government. As the Board of Mayor and Aldermen convene this evening, we pray for Mayor Marilyn Howard and those who serve as aldermen. We are grateful for their leadership and for their devotion to our community. We pray your blessing upon the citizens of our city of Manchester, for the well-being of our public services, our schools, our places of worship, and our industry. Watch over our police officers, firefighters, military veterans, doctors, nurses, frontline workers. And tonight we also honor the memory of our friend and neighbor, the former Mayor Lonnie Norman, who now rests from his earthly labors among us. May his memory live on in those who continue to serve our beloved community. In your holy name, O God, we pray. Amen.
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
which stands, one nation, under God.
Okay, before we start this meeting, I'd like to say this meeting has been conducted by electronic means pursuant to the requirements of the Ladies Executive Order 65 and has been noticed as required by that order. Section 1C of Governor Lee's Order 65 strongly urges the city to provide an agenda for the meeting in the notice. I need a motion to adopt the agenda, which was sent out as part of the meeting notice, as suggested by Governor Lee's Executive Order 65, and to suspend any conflicting provision of Manchester's municipal code.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Let's call vote.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols,
Aye.
Alderman Elam.
Okay, and I'd like to say that we've lost our beloved mayor with COVID. We have one of our aldermen that he's put it out on Facebook, so who has COVID, and his wife is 8 months pregnant. And this is the right thing to do. We would love to have an open meeting with the public this year, but when it hits home, we're taking this serious, and this is the safest way that we feel we can do this. So I'd just like to stand on that. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 6th, Meeting,
Roll call first.
oh, okay. Call roll.
Alderman French,
Here.
Alderman Bellamy,
Here.
Alderman Messick,
Here.
Alderman Nichols,
Here.
Alderman Elam.
Here.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of October the 6th?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick,
Aye.
Alderman Nichols,
Alderman
Elam.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of October the 19th? the Special call meeting?
No motion.
Second.
Any corrections or adjustments to that? Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
Okay, do we have correspondence?
Yes, ma'am. We have a card. It says, "Greetings. Words cannot express our heartfelt gratitude. We appreciate each of you and thank you for your service to our community. In our loss, we know that we share with each of you the love of the beautiful town of Manchester. With humble gratitude, Priscilla and Lonnie Jr."
Okay, we'll go into the committee and commission's report. Safety. Okay. Finance.
We've got a couple of resolutions we'll talk about shortly.
Street.
I don't think we had a meeting last month.
Water and sewer.
We'll have a meeting 3:00 Thursday for
Recreation.
Yeah, Bonnie, I heard you briefly talking to Tenny about something that happened earlier. What were you talking about? Why don't you go ahead and say it?
Am I on unmute? I hope.
You're good. You're
okay.
good.
Thanks to the honor that I'm getting bestowed upon me as Grand Marshal of the Christmas Parade for 2020. Look for something unusual to happen. But it's an honor.
It's a big honor.
Tourism. Well, the tourism met, and since we didn't have a person that had been put on that committee from Aldermen, and they were discussing spending funds for care money, and I can tell you there is a lot. That's a dedicated committee, and they do a lot in this community, and they really, I was amazed how they really were serious about spending their money. Like they sharpened their pens, and I was impressed. Okay, planning and zoning.
We're going to meet on the 16th. I don't think I'm going to do it.
Information system. Nothing to report. Historic zoning.
We didn't meet.
Okay. All right, moving to resolutions and ordinances.
Madam Mayor, the first two items of the resolution we talked about during the work session. The first is an initial resolution determining to issue not to exceed $4,250,000 of general obligation bond of the city of Manchester. Someone would probably need to move to amend that as written to the 2.6 figure, if that's the board's pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance.
Do I hear a second?
I'll say.
Any discussions?
Yes, Mayor, I just got a text from Director Vaughn, and he said that the actual total for the building of the school was going to be $3,880,557. So it's $3,880,557. So somewhere between our last discussion and now, we've gotten an actual number. And I think he said he based that on actual bids they got in rather than an estimate early on, which was the 4 point something or other number. Dr. Vaughn's in here now and he'll correct me. Anything I say is not, or you can take over. But so I think we need to continue with this amendment, but amend this dollar amount to reflect whatever so I think we don't have to go to 2.7 as Scott was saying to cover that other 100, whatever like that.
So it should be,
somebody can do some math. I can't do the math.
should be 2.28 million now, and then plus whatever the service fee is, another 100,000. So we'd amend it to 2.38 million. If that's correct, 3.88 on the total, right?
Yeah, 3.880, correct.
So minus the 1.6.
It's 2.38. It's 2,380,000.
Okay. Yeah. So the amendment should read that.
Well, then Scott said there was some kind of a bump of 100,000 somewhere or something, which I don't, I'd like to, so I'm going to make an amendment that we spend $500,000 of this on cash and reduce the bonding amount by that, which is going to fail, but I'm going to do that somewhere in there anyway. So I don't know whether to do that now or what, but we could pay the 100, not bump this amendment up by that. I think.
Somebody should motion, Bill.
Well, my motion is to Attorney Ewell put a number out there probably without this new information. And what I'm seeing now is the city commitment is 2.380,000,000. And based on the actual figure rather than the estimated figure we were using before. And then, so that's what the amendment should read now with that new information. So, and Attorney Ewell, can I amend this amendment, or do I got to wait and do another amendment?
No, we have to do it. We have to vote on this one unless somebody wants to withdraw it, and then somebody remake the motion with the new.
So I'll make a motion that we do 2.38000 million based on the new information from Director Vaughn.
This is on.
Right, you need to vote on Alderman Belby's motion, or you can withdraw it with consent of everybody, and then we'll start again with whatever number y'all pick.
I'd like to withdraw my motion.
Second.
I'll second
Now
Bill.
we can amend.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend it to a lower number that is actual figures. Once Attorney Ewell calculates figures that are different, we need to borrow plus the loan fees.
And I think Alderman Nichols calculated the amount that's actually needed for the construction at 2.38. So there's a little premium for the cost of doing it, which I think Mr. Gibson estimated at $100,000. So it'll be 2.48.
I think that should be 2.28, and then whatever the 100,000. So I think the 2.
Somebody check my math. Yep.
388 minus 160.
3880557.
Oh, I don't
minus,
have.
Okay. I don't know if that makes any difference, and I might have rounded up. 1.6 is what the cash from the school system is.
My motion was.
Yeah, 557.
My motion was to move it to the lower number to what Attorney Ewell calculates as the difference plus the loan fees. That gets us accurate. I trust him to do it right and gives us sitting here with pencils and paper jacking around, not really knowing what we're talking about.
What's the project cost again? 3.88?
3.88557. 3.880557. $3,080,557.
How much is the school kicking in?
1.6 million.
tell you what Samsung says the difference is.
2,280,557.
And can we absorb the extra cost Scott was talking about rather than finance that for 20 years or 30 years? Can we just pay that with the cash we got rather than add it in? That $100,000 we're chipping around to end up being 300,000 by the end of the.
Yeah, I'll support that. I'll support paying the fee out of just paying the fee up front.
Chairman Bellamy, would you change your amendment to reflect that?
I would.
And in reality, you're probably not paying the fee out of the cash, you're probably paying the construction cost out of the cash, because they'll take the fee out of the bond proceeds. So your bond proceeds, if you, the way I did the math, the raw figures are 2,280,557. They'll take their bond fee under the terms of the resolution out of that. And so your bond proceeds will be like 2,180,557, and you just make up the difference out of the general fund with the construction.
All right, I'm good with that.
Bond premium out of it, it'll just come out later, but it's.
I'm all right with that.
Okay.
Make a motion.
2 million.
You will handle it.
Well, we have to put a number in there. 2,280,557 is what the difference between the project cost and the school's contribution is. So then any construction difference between what the bond proceeds are, and which would be somewhat less than that, and the construction cost, the city will just have to kick in out of the general fund. Is that the scenario everybody wants?
So, I'll leave it.
Okay.
Is that what you want to do?
The 2,280,557 is what you need to put in your motion. So amend this initial.
Municipal bonds are in $5,000 blocks, so 2,280,000 or 2,285,000. I can work with either one.
All right, 280.
500. Yeah, just 2,280,000 even, and that'll just be 557 extra dollars what kick in. We can't do that. We don't need that. So.
Take your motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
In discussion.
I do not agree on taking any money out of reserve for anything right now.
I can't understand that. I can't hear.
Can't hear you or Bob. I need both of y'all to speak into the microphone when you speak.
I said I do not agree on taking any money out of reserve for anything right now, except maybe, but I don't agree taking it out for this, okay?
So are you making a motion?
So I'm good. I'm going to vote for it. I'm okay. I just want y'all to know how I feel about it.
Nobody's suggesting taking money out of reserve. Nobody. That's not been part of the conversation all night.
Mayor, do we have a question?
Call the question. Call the amendment. On the amendment.
On the amendment. Can we call roll?
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy,
Aye.
Alderman Messing,
Aye.
Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
And on the resolution as amended, Mayor, I'll leave a motion second and discussions. Chair's pleasure.
Okay, I need a motion.
Make a motion to pass the resolution as amended.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussions?
Yeah, I would like to say that I would like to add $500,000, not from our reserve, but from the general fund, which is in there, to offset the bond amount, to lower the bond amount by that amount, 500,000, which we can use for cash. That's an amendment to that motion, I guess. Can I do that, Gerald? When do I do that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You made a motion to amend the resolution as amended.
Correct. As amended, using not from the reserve, but from the general fund, $500,000 and lower the bonding amount by that amount.
Do I hear a second on this motion?
I'm going to second because I want to have this discussion. I'm interested in this.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So that's Bill. I was actually just writing that down to ask you at the end of the meeting. So you're not talking about taking this out of reserves. You're talking about taking this out of the general fund. Are you talking about in the form of cuts to the current?
No, there's money. I think Bridget told me that there was money in there over and above the reserve, just cash money. Maybe that's where I need to ask Bridget that question, because I could be wrong. But when I was chairman of finance for 2 years, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 over the reserve amount we had in there.
But that would,
it was just money. It was just money. Is that right?
I think it is on the revenues and the expenses and how it comes through. But we have more than the 25% that's recommended through GFOA through in our reserves. We do have more than the 25% that's recommended.
So call it reserve, but our reserve, the way I think about it, our reserve is the recommended amount that we should have on hand in case of an emergency, which we have, and we have extra money in there. Yes. Above that. That's the only money I'm talking about. I'm not talking about dipping in reserve, because we've all agreed we're never going to do that as this group of aldermen.
If we've got $500,000 laying in our general fund, we've got to put on if we didn't get the budget here done.
Just because it's there doesn't mean we have to spend it. It's not. I think it's not a good idea to take it out.
So I want to be clear, though. I think we're still talking, at least in my definition of reserve,
that you have to have. I don't know why you can't have a little cushion right there.
Yes, we're still talking about the reserve. It's just above the 25% that's recommended. It's the extra amount that is above what we need.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about, I'm sorry, I should say general fund, okay? And I understand you want to keep 25% of what we need, and that's what you're calling reserve. I call it the whole fund reserve, so I'll change my language and call it general fund. But I don't see the need of taking it out when you can borrow money at 2%.
I agree. And the reason I want to have this discussion, because I didn't know if you were talking about maybe anticipated revenue in the current budget, which I wouldn't imagine we would have in there. So that's why I wanted to have that discussion. But I rest my.
That's cool. Take a vote. That's good. I'm good.
In reality, Alderman Nichols' motion is to amend the resolution from $2,280,000 down to $1,680,000. That's what the effect of it on the bond would be. Is that your understanding? 500,000 less.
Correct.
Okay. So in reality, it's a motion to amend the resolution as amended to reduce the amount from $2,280,000 to $1,680,000.
Correct.
We have a motion and a second on.
Okay, you've already had a motion.
And we discussed it, so call roll.
Okay. So this is on the amendment.
Right.
Alderman French?
No.
Alderman Bellamy?
No.
Alderman Messick?
No.
Alderman Nichols? Alderman Elam?
No.
And now, we have a motion.
We're back at the $2,280,000.
We got a motion discussion.
Got a motion and a second on that. Alderman French?
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy? Alderman Messick? Alderman Nichols? Alderman Elam?
I'm checking my numbers before we move on. So make sure we're good. The next one is a resolution authorizing the sale and providing the details of not to exceed it says $4,250,000 general obligation bond series 2020 of the city of Manchester, providing for the levy of ad valorem taxes in connection therewith. we will need to amend that amount to be the same as we did on the other, the 2,280,000.
I'll make a motion, we amend that amendment to
Second.
on with the earlier resolution.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy,
Aye.
Alderman Messick,
Aye.
Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
And the resolution is okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as written,
I mean,
as amended with 2.28? 280. So your motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
next one, Madam Mayor, is a resolution authorizing the application for acceptance of 2020 Tennessee Department of Transportation multimodal access grant of $1 million for our city to contribute $50,000 and agree to maintain the facility.
Do I hear a motion? Second. Do I hear a second? Is there any discussions?
Jamie, you want to tell us what we're gonna do with this?
So, this multimodal access grant application is, it's a 95% TDOT match with a 5% match from us. So it'd be $950,000, put towards the project by TDOT and $50,000 by the city. We're looking to do a project along Highway 41. We would extend the sidewalks where they end currently around the post office area in Wall Street, and extend the sidewalks on both sides of 41 to the Walmart intersection, red light right there. And then also we'll branch off 41 with a stub out of a sidewalk from 41 to the conference center. And then also we'll extend the bike lanes where they're currently in now at the main intersection in town and take them all the way out from both sides of the highway to Asbury Road, the southern city limits of 41.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
Add a provision to Manchester Municipal Code relative to advertising and notice.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
At first reading of an ordinance to amend Manchester Municipal Code 14.5.16.6b, little I, and little b relative to off-site advertising signs.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I got something. I want to talk about this a little bit. So in this ordinance, if you look at section B and section D, what we're getting ready to do is take the size of the sign from like, I can't remember how many feet, like 60 or 70 square feet up to 675 square feet, which basically we're saying we're going to do billboards. Part D says we're going to take it from 16-foot high sign to a 50-foot high sign. Basically what we're getting ready to vote on these two sections, I think A, C, and E, F, G, H, I, J, K are all cool. These two are the only parts I have a problem with, and I'm going to make a motion to amend these out of it. And effectively what we're voting on is we are getting ready to say that in in zone C3, which is general commercial, we're going to start having billboards or allow billboards again. Now, a previous board of mayor and aldermen didn't think it was a good idea and voted for the smaller size in this. So effectively what we'd be doing on Highway 55, we might be adding, say, 5 billboards between Manchester and Tullahoma, just in the city limit part there. On Highway 53, we might be adding a couple to 3. There's room for these if you take into consideration 1,000, 2,000 foot distance has to be between them. On Highway 41, we'd be adding 2 or 3. So what we're getting ready to vote on is you're going to have about, say, minimum 5, possibly 10 more billboards in the city of Manchester. Now, where this came from, I'd like to give a brief history. And the reason I resigned from planning, which I served on for 2 years and loved that service as much as anything I do for the city. It's as important as anything in the city. When I first got there, a guy came in and asked to add a room onto his restaurant, but that room would have gone over to right to the property line of his neighbor, which is about 15 feet as I recall. I can't remember all this. If you want to check me on it, fact check me in the codes department. And we said no to it because in our continuing education, the only thing that we are supposed to consider when granting a variance are the particular physical surroundings, the shape, and the topographic conditions of the specific property involved. So the conditions upon which the variance are based would not be applicable generally to other property within the same district. We can never consider somebody's profit or loss in a decision, which that's all government, but particularly in planning. Because everybody that comes there says, well, it's going to either cost me money or I'm going to make money if you grant this variance. So everything that our lawyer tells us in continuing education is to not grant a variance. So the first time when the guy came to us, we did the right thing. We said, no, you can't have the variance because it would have gone. And that's because of to get fire trucks between buildings for whatever reasons. The second time somebody came in, I made this speech that I'm making now. I brought up the same continuing education things that we'd just gotten out of. And a motion was made to let this next person have the variance. It failed because of a second. The next planning commission down the road, another guy comes in and says he wants a variance to build on a property line. I know what's coming on this one. I can already hear the guy's come to my office. He's come around town checking with everybody. So I go to the mayor's office and I say, Mr. Mayor, this variance deal is getting out of hand. And I based it on what we learned in our continuing education from the attorney that taught the class, who was a codes attorney for most of his career. The codes director sent out an email saying that, paraphrasing greatly, he's there if he wants to speak up, that we should really consider granting variances and we should not grant this variance. We did grant this variance for this individual. The guy before that, who we said who could not get a second when the motion was made, came back. No, wait, this is when I went to the mayor. The mayor calls a special called meeting for this first guy to come in. I don't go to that meeting because I know what's going to happen. I don't be part of it. 4 people show up to the meeting and it passes 4-0. We are giving Manchester away 15 feet at a time on the planning commission right now. It happens over and over and over. That's why I'm not on planning anymore. I'm not going to be part of it. And it's frustrating to spend 2 years saying what I'm saying right now to all kind of people, and I get a deaf ear, and it's cool. If that's what Manchester wants, let somebody else give it. I'm not going to be part of it because the code of the city of Manchester is sacrosanct to me. All hard work of the previous Board of Mayor and Aldermen have looked out after the 10,000 citizens of Manchester, and I am not going to be a part of devaluing that. So in that meeting, I'm almost finished here. In the meeting, the last meeting I was there, a guy's come up that wants to have a billboard on Highway 55. And I see where it's going. It's going to be granted. The only thing I could do during that meeting was to say, rather than grant this one more variance, let's bring it before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to change the ordinance. So this guy wants to put a billboard out on 55. Well, so that's how this subcommittee and planning began. I made the motion, we do a subcommittee. People got on the committee and they have been meeting and are going to meet more. And they have presented this recommendation. The subcommittee brought it with positive recommendation to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission brings it forward here with a positive recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to change the entire ordinance so one sign can be put up on 55. But in so doing, we're opening it up where maybe 5 or 10 billboards can be put up all over. And that was the very thing nobody wanted, were more billboards in our town. So this is sort of a deep in there thing that maybe might have slipped by. I want to make everybody aware of that. But the only reason we're doing this is so we can have one billboard put up on 55. I think we should accept this ordinance with the amendment of deleting part B and D, and then let that person that needs that sign come back to planning and get their variance on that one sign if they need be. If planning does it, we can't do anything about it. I mean, sorry, if Board of Zoning Appeals does it, we can't change that. They're autonomous on that decision. So I'm really frustrated because I love planning, but I can't serve on it as dysfunctional and political as it is now. Like if you know somebody on planning, boom, you're done. If you don't, you're out. So I'm going to amend this motion that we delete part B and D. Thank the subcommittee on signs that has been meeting and is continuing to meet for the other recommendations in here, but delete part B and D.
Do I hear that? His motion? Do I hear a second? Okay, the motion failed. We'll go back to the original resolution ordinance. Do I hear a motion? Oh, well, any more discussion?
I wanted to ask, we can come back at any time and delete those. I want to look more into that for sure, because I know that there was a effort not to. I'm first and foremost, I'm not for passing anything that is designed for one specific project to get through. If there's something that needs to be addressed in the code, kind of as a large standard, then I would be for that. But as far as changing this just for one billboard, I would need to have. Can someone talk more about that, or is that actually fundamentally what's happening here?
Yes.
I've been on the committee. I don't remember ever discussing any single billboard that we're doing anything just for one person.
It was the last meeting. I was the Alderman representative on the Planning Commission. It was prior to Alderman Messick's time on the board. He wasn't aware of it.
And you're not going to have 10 billboards. I think we figured we might have 3 new billboards in the whole city of Manchester, because there's safety built in there. You're 150 foot from residential, you're 150 foot from offsite advertising, you're 2,000 foot apart, you're 1,000 foot from each side. It works out, we figured, what, 3, maybe 4 total?
Yeah, so there's a couple extra things in there about having to be 150 feet from any residential property, and then also 150 feet from any permanent on-site freestanding signs. So that's your commercial signs, pole signs, things like that. Now the 675 maximum display surface area. So whenever the subcommittee first met, we went over the off-site advertising requirements for several cities around us. So we looked at the just straight up TDOT standards whenever you're putting one along a major highway. We looked at Tullahoma standards, McMinnville, Shelbyville, Murfreesboro, Chattanooga, Nashville. We looked at all those, and all their requirements were given to, and they were kind of all over the board. So the subcommittee was given all of this information on the front end, and all of this was discussed. And we went through this. Well, we met 4 different times just for this one thing here. And this is what came out of that subcommittee with a majority vote. So there was a lot of time and effort spent on this. But of course, so what this does, so originally in the C3 and C2 zonings, this ordinance right here excludes C1 Central Business District. So that's the area around the square here. But originally in the C3 zoning, which is general commercial, which is the areas that are not around the interstate, it allowed a 72 square foot billboard sign that can only be 16 feet tall. Whereas on the interstate, in the C2 zoning, it allowed a sign that's 675 feet tall, or 675 square feet in size, and I think they could still put them at 50 feet above the pavement. So what this does is it kind of simplifies our off-site advertising requirements to where these off-site signs are not allowed in residential areas or in the C1 zoning, but it opens it up in the industrial areas and any of the other commercial areas to allow this certain ordinance.
So how did this ordinance just get brought up out of if they did this how many every year ago, why is it getting brought up to change it now to Mark says simplify? You're saying, how do you just go pick out this ordinance out of the blue and say you're doing it just to simplify? Why is it being brought to there has to be something?
Well, the subcommittee was formed because the planning commission asked for a subcommittee to be formed to look at the sign ordinance.
Just the sign ordinance, that's all.
Correct.
Yeah, but I asked for that to be looked at because of that one. The lawyers were in the house that night. It was a whole big thing. That one person wanted that sign, and the only way that we could get that I felt like we should have resolution to that was to have the board decide. I mean, it was not like just some flaky little thing one night. There were people in there. I mean, it was crowded. It was tough. It was a hard meeting. This didn't come out of the blue.
So I guess my question is, I'm going to just tie back to the calculation on the billboards. Mark and Jamie, you're saying there's only a possibility of 3 or 4 more billboards. I'm not going to vote for this unless there is an option for additional billboards. So I'm not going to vote for it if it's only open up 1, but I think we can agree it's opening up more. Mark, you and Jamie are saying it's only going to be 3 or 4. Bill, you think there's going to be more. Is that based on the chance of property being rezoned, or is?
Well, I just called Jamie the other day and went down Highway 55 and I said, how many do you think could be on there? And he said 3 or some. And I said, what are on 53? And he said a couple there, and on 41, 2 or 3. It's in my note when I talked to Jamie, so I don't know what the number is. I trust whatever Jamie says the number is. But in my conversation with him on the phone, that's where I got those numbers.
So the number is, so we did look at the zoning map and did a lot of measuring on it. And there will be could possibly be more than 3 or 4, but it's 3 or 4 along 55. Like Bill said, maybe a couple on 53 and a couple on 41. But that's if they are even able to put them there. That's just area that one could possibly be put there.
Yeah.
It still is the caveat in there about if an existing, no new sign shall be erected by a sign company until it has removed an equal number of non-conforming advertising signs which it operates. So like your big advertising companies like, say, Lamar, in order for them to be able to put a new one up, they have to remove one that's not conforming. So that's still in there.
But that wouldn't prohibit anybody that didn't have a non-conforming sign from getting one.
Correct. Yes.
Well, which is usually how they're, I mean, just I'm going to jump in here. The way I've read those leases, it seems that the individual is the one who puts it up and then Lamar leases it from them. But I'll have to look into that. That's fulfilled all my questions.
Discussion. Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Belton, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols,
No.
Alderman Eagle.
I'll have that, Mayor.
Okay, is there any old business? Okay, the new business, the vacancy with Alderman seat. Do I hear a motion to appoint someone?
I'll make a motion to appoint Roxanne Patton.
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion? Call roll.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols,
Aye.
Alderman Nealon, Mayor Howard.
Aye. Okay, is Patton around? Is she here?
She is.
Congratulations, Roxanne. Thank you. Welcome forward.
I have, please, ma'am. State your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and of the state of Tennessee, and that I will perform with fidelity the duties of the office of Alderman of the city of Manchester, to which I have been appointed and which I'm about to assume. Congratulations.
We have the committee list for the vice mayor and all the other committees. Well, have a motion to approve the vice mayor and other. Do I have a motion?
Make a move.
Do I have a second? Any discussion?
Who is, I didn't see that. Who are these people? I'm sorry about that. I thought I was prepared, but I didn't catch that. Where is that? Could you read off the people, Mayor?
Yeah.
It's toward the very back. It's highlighted.
Okay. Vice Mayor is Martha. Safety Committee is Chris Dillon.
Oh, I got it here.
Everybody have a list?
I got it. I'm sorry. I'm with you.
You go ahead. I got it.
I'll give you a chance to look at them.
So I don't want to state the obvious here, but we don't have Roxanne on any of these.
She is, right now, she's on 19.
Oh, okay. Just
And we have
new.
next meeting, if you guys want, we can add her, just switch it out with, but I just wanted to go on and put her in the, IT plan. I'll give you more about saying if you want it.
Okay, you want my adult entertainment? Okay.
Did we have a second?
Yes. Call her up.
Alderman French,
Aye.
Alderman Patton, Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Metsy, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Elam.
Okay, and the, Manchester Coffee County Conference Center. We have like, get into resolution, huh?
Yes, I prepared the substance of which is the agreement on the backside that attempted to incorporate what was negotiated between the respective mayors, some other provisions about the insurance and rebuilding that just really weren't addressed, some things about reimbursement for capital improvements where somebody told me to use the amount, 15,000, and I don't remember where that came from, some discussion, Mayor Norman, Stan Teal, Alderman Brent, I don't remember where that came from. After the meeting of the Finance Committee, I guess last Wednesday night, about its commitment to fund operation, then I tried to craft a definition of operate in here, defining what an event was, and then 18, saying we've operated the conference center if we've hosted 18 or more events or had revenue more than 30,000 in a given month or average of 6 months, or had 2,000 in a given month or average of 2,000 over the preceding 6 months. Those are some figures that were provided to me from the PBA, actually discounted, and then I put a provision in there about the curtailed due to governmental regulation. The rest of the items I think were outlined in various draft documents, Mayor Cordell, Mr. Teal, and Mayor Norman. And certainly it's for this board to decide what it wants to do. If this agreement is okay as written, then I'll convey it to the county. Mr. Husky did call me this afternoon and said that we're having the Finance Committee meeting tonight, that the county was, and wanted to outline of it. And since this is part of the agenda, I just sent him a copy of this, so I don't know what their feelings about that were. And then their meeting may be concluded here. It's just, I drafted this from what the resolution just authorizes the mayor to enter into the agreement and the city. Open to suggestions. If anybody has any suggestions about changes, additions, subtractions, operate from what I was hearing.
So I've got one item. By changing the duration of the contract with the county from June to December is going to put about $120,000 more on the city of Manchester. And I appreciate the work that went into that. And the PBA has explained how it came to be, and I trust it 100%. But I was been thinking the other day, would it be possible that we could put an amendment in that resolution or agreement that should the sale of the conference center ever occur, that the county would pay us back $120,000 for the money that we're giving them up front here? Is that crazy? If it is, I'll just move on. Just tell me. Because we're assuming $120,000 more to the city for the operation from now till June, but that's already been negotiated, and I don't want to go back over it if it's already done the thing.
Well, we spent about, man, I can have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
We spent about 2.5 hours, if not 3, discussing this at the work session. And, you know, I wanted to go back and see if we could get that 30,000. But it was decided in the finance committee, and I'm listening to the finance committee to send this over to House, the board to approve it. So that's what's on the table. Do we want to help? Attorney Europe has written this up. Do we want to accept it? Are you not willing to accept it?
Oh, yeah, I want to accept it. I'll take that out of there. If it's already done, don't worry about it. Just forget it.
Okay.
I'm good.
Any more discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Brian, Judge. Do I hear a motion that we accept this that has been written up? Have a chance to read it?
So moved.
Second.
Alderman French,
Pass.
Alderman Patton, Alderman Bellamy,
Yes.
Alderman Messick, Alderman Nichols, Alderman Eagle.
Let the Alderman French, since he passed.
Alderman French,
Abstain.
Okay, items from the board, Mayor, Alderman.
Everybody be careful.
I don't know. Congratulations to my board.
Thank you all. I don't know if anybody's listening from the police department, fire department, but there could not be anybody that's conducted themselves in any better manner last month or so than they have. I just want to give a shout out to them. Thank you all. Thank you.
Alderman French, do you have comments?
Don't get COVID. It sucks really bad.
Alderman Nichols, you have any comments?
Good. Thank you. Nope.
Well, I just like to say, we just need to keep Ryan and Rebecca and the baby and those children in our prayers. And no more discussion.
Thank you.
Adjourn.